a crapshoot here, doing a patron video. This time I wanted to look at some decks in set 1 that you can build on early in set 2 to get ahead early in the set 2 meta using decks that were already good in set 1, adding some cards, upgrading that archetype. So first up is going to be Mono Boba Cunning. Really good deck. So looking at the deck list, we got Greedo, Shoot First, which have been staples. The Hot Shot DL44 Blaster, which we can smuggle for 3 and give something +2 attack, and it can attack when you play it. So it's in a good addition here to close late in the game. When you see these, you want to resource them so that you can smuggle them later to close. Then the Cartel Spacer. I really go back and forth on the Cartel Spacer. It's really not a great unit, but it's good enough, and its when played effect is pretty solid when you can get it to go. Then 2 No Good to Me Deads. You really want to see those mid-game, so 2 instead of 3. 2 Crafty Smuggler, 3 Surprise Strike, 3 Dr. Hoop Face, Dr. Evanson or whatever. He is really aggressive early, 2 cost 3/3 with a shield. You got to be smart how you play him so that you don't give your opponent a bunch of free resources. So, but being a 2 cost 3/3 with a shield is pretty ridiculous. So, he's in here as a 3 of the 3 Boba Fett unit, 3 7th Fleet Defender. We're going to 2 Bodhi. I'm trying to fit in some more stuff in the later game, so drop down to 2 Bodhi, 3 Waylay, 3 Cunning, and then 3 Forlom, 4/4 with Ambush is okay. Stats aren't super great by himself, but the 4/4 Ambush is pretty nice, and then he buffs Zuckuss. He makes Zuckuss +1/+1, and Zuckuss is a 5-drop. That's a 6/6, so if Forlom's in play, Zuckuss is a 7/7, and then Forlom also gives Zuckuss Ambush, so if you have Forlom in play, you can next turn you can play Zuckuss for 5 and Ambush as a 7/7 with Saboteur. And then a boss also in there at a 5-drop. His ability is relevant, and he is another ambusher on 5. And then Zuckuss gives Forlom Saboteur and +1/+1. So they buff each other and give each other a keyword. They're a really strong combo. 3 of each in this deck because we wanna hit them on curve as often as we can. Then 3 fire sprays. We're not getting away from fire sprays anytime soon with Boba Fett. 2 Change of Heart, and then 2 Infist Nest. So Infist Nest is a 5/4, which the stats are okay for a 6 cost. I mean, Syndicate Lackeys is the same stat line and Ambush for 1 whole less resource. But Infist Nest has the ability that when friendly units are ambushing, they are protected on the crackback and take -3 attack. So Infist ambushes into something and takes 3 less damage. If she's out before your Forlom Zuckuss is out, then they're taking less damage back, and then also our 7-drop Fennec. It was like a 4/6 with Ambush. She's taking less back, and then Fennec also has a really good on-attack ability to swing way above her weight class. So the first deck we're looking at is Boba Cunning. I think it's a pretty solid list to start from and build on from here. We got like 70 cards left in set 2 to see. So if there's anything that could add to Boba, but I think this is a good starting point for Boba Yellow in set 2. The next one we are going to look at is a Sabine Cunning, so the Hero Aggro deck. This deck has some changes, but it's still really, really solid overall. So we're going to start with the 3 Spec Force, 3 Heroic Sacrifice, then we're going down to 2 Greedos here. Sorry, my alarm's going off. I got ribs in the smoker. I got to pull in a second. They'll be okay. They're wrapped. So we got 2 Greedos, then we got 3 of the Heroic Resolve, which is the new upgrade that I think it's pay 2, right? Sorry. I want to make sure I'm telling you the right information on the Heroic Resolve but it's a cool new upgrade that just got revealed. It looks super, super strong. So, Heroic Resolve is a 1-cost upgrade. It gives +1/+1, and then attached unit gains action, pay 2 resources, defeat a Heroic Resolve. So you have to discard the card, and you attack with a unit. It gets +4 attack and overwhelm. So this is a permanent +1/+1 buff, and then when you need the reach, you pay 2, discard this, and you get +4 and overwhelm. So it's a better surprise strike on a stick. Well, I don't know if it's better than surprise strike, but it gives you +4. So you lose the +1/+1 because you have to discard the upgrade, but still getting the +1/+1. Like, you play this on Sabine, and now she's out of takedown range, and then late in the game you discard it, and then Sabine is hitting base for 6 +1 7. So you pay 2 and hit for 7 with Sabine if she's still in play, which she could be because she's going to be out of range of takedowns and stuff and force strokes because of the Heroic Resolve. So Heroic Resolve, really strong. It's also good on other units in here too, but just I think playing on Sabine's a good call. Then 3 A-Wing, 3 Sabine unit, 2 surprise strikes. We went down to 2 surprise strikes because we're trying to get our keep our 4 cause numbers up, and also the Heroic Resolves kind of add a lot of reach, so I didn't know that we needed 3 surprise strikes. And then 3 Ketsu. Ketsu's pretty good. She's a 3/2 with Saboteur for 2, and then if she's upgraded with like a heroic, or when she completes an attack, when she deals damage to a base, when she deals damage to a base, you can discard upgrades, so you can rip shields and experience tokens off other units. And we have 2 Gray Squadron A-Wing. The Gray Squadron A-Wing I like because it's a cheap space unit. Its only stats are 1/3. But it's on attack ability. Your opponent chooses a unit or base they control, and you deal 2 damage to it. So it's a way to get base damage in if they don't have units on board. And it's a way you don't really want to control the board with Sabine, but it's a way that they have to damage their units, and then when they trade into you, it makes those trades less efficient. So it adds a little protection, and it's another way to get damage on base. And it's cheap, and it can be buffed. You can play, we can wing leader onto it to buff it to make it even stronger. Heroic Resolve can be played to it because Heroic Resolve doesn't say that it has to be a non-vehicle unit. So another one you can look at there. 3 Fighters for Freedom, 3/4 with Saboteur is good, and then the kicker ability is just a bonus. 3 red 3, we want the buffs. The raid is nice. 3 4 calls, I don't think I need to talk about that. 3 Falcons, 3 Fleet Lieutenants, 3 Wing Leader, 3 K2. Those are pretty common. And then we got 3 Poes. So Poe is one that he's a legendary. So if you don't want to use the Poe, you could put 3 of something else in here from like the current list. But as a 5-drop, I liked him because he's a 6/6, so he's overstated, and his on attack can be super relevant because you can deal damage to a base with his ability. And then Wrecker as a 6-drop is just ridiculous because he's a 7/6 with overwhelm. And he can deal 5 damage to another ground unit. So if you need to clear a Sentinel, he allows you to do that, and he is not easily removed. So Wrecker. So that's the Sabine Cunning list. I think is where I'm gonna start with Sabine Cunning in set 2. Han Solo. I love Han Solo. It's my favorite deck in set 1, and it gets better in set 2. So this is where I'm starting with Han in set 2. So we got 3 Greedos, 3 Battlefield Marines. I think those are staples you got to have. Now I'm adding 2 Hot Shot Blasters because those can be played to the resource row and can be smuggled. 2 Cartel Spacer because it's another aggressive unit, because if I'm playing into control, I want to be able to play 2 units round 1. So the Cartel Turncoat allows me to do that because it's only at 1 cost and it's cheap. I don't really care about the bounty on it. It's whatever. So the Cartel Turncoat, 2 of those. And also if you're playing against like a 25 health base like Sabine ECL, you can just race because you start 5 damage ahead, and you can go aggressive and wide with Han. So Cartel Turncoat. And Cartel Turncoat also, since it has a bounty, will entice our opponent to clear it, which can trigger another card we have. 2 copies of Leia because she's really versatile. She's great off of U-Wing. She's great mid-late game. She's good. 2 Spark of Rebellion. take our opponent's best card when we need to. 2 Spark of Hope. This is what I was talking about, the turncoat. So Spark of Hope allows us to ramp when our opponent, when we have a unit that was discarded this phase, we can play Spark of Hope and then put it into play as a resource. So it's a way to get some ramp. I don't think Han really needs a resupply, but Spark of Hope I like because it's taking a unit that was already defeated and we get to do something with it. So it kind of, Spark of Hope kind of replaces itself with the unit. And if it's a card that has smuggle, we can play it later. Or if we have a way, like I want to test tech in here too. Tech is a way that gives everything smuggle. So if we had tech's probably like a sideboard card. I didn't build sideboards for this exercise, but tech would be one that if he was in here would allow our whole deck to be smuggle. So then we could pull whatever unit and smuggle it later. So Spark of Hope, I'm using it over resupply basically because it's 1 cheaper. Yeah, so it doesn't completely kill whatever turn we play resupply. 2 Echo-based defenders for Sentinel, basically 3 Falcons. 3 spare the target. This is just a hero waylay that's better. If your opponent plays something that has a bounty on it, like the Cartel Turncoat, you can get the bounty off of it. 3 Bright Hope. It's great against aggro. It's great against Boba Fett because it takes 2 fire spray hits to kill. 3 modded cohort. The 2/4 for 4, and then given it the ambush and the raid 2 is really strong. I really like it with Han. 2 Chewie. I think you need 2 Chewie in Han. He's good into Boba and it's good into Sabine, so it goes in here. So the Marauder is another way we can kind of ramp. It's a 5-drop with ambush, and you choose a card in your discard pile. You put into play the resource if it shares a name with. So Han, since he is to defeat resources, you can set up the Marauder play. If you get like if you have like a Falcon in your discard pile and you have a Falcon in play, since we have 6 Falcons, you can use Marauder and put one in play as a resource. And if you put the one in play as a resource that has smuggle, then you have another card you can play. So that's kind of the deal with Marauder. You're really looking to combo it with like a 6-drop Falcon that you KO'd with Han off his ability earlier in the game. Then we have Zori. Zori I'm not too crazy about, but she is a 5-drop with smuggle, which is relevant because Han, I think allowing us to play cards from our resource row is super huge because one of the best ways to beat Han is to rip his hand apart. And now we can get around that by not caring about our hand because we can play cool cards from our resource row. So that's why Zori's there. Zori also helps us filter through our deck later. 1 Mercenary Company, I think that's just super solid 6-drop for the keywords on it. And then the 6-drop Falcon is cool. You play it from hand, it has ambush, and then you can smuggle it. And the smuggle cost is the same as its played cost, which is really nice. 2 Infus Nest, since we have our late game units in Han and Krennic that have ambush. Also, Mercenary Company has ambush. The Marauder has ambush. And modded cohorts have ambush. We got some good ambush crap going on in here. So Infus is there to help protect them. 3 U-Wings, don't need to really talk about U-Wing. Just a great card for the Han late game. 2 copies of Han. I dropped down to 2 because I wanted to run 2 Krennic and I wanted 2 home ones. So that's why Han is a 2 and Krennic is a 2. They do similar things, but Krennic can reach a little higher. She's a higher ceiling than Han, but Han is more protected on the crackback. But with Enfys, you're taking less damage back on Krennic anyway. So, and then 2 home ones. It's just a great space unit, and it allows us to pull something back from our discard. So there you go. That's Han. That's where I'm starting in set 2 with Tech. Tech is one I want to test too. So the Tech is the 2/5 with smuggle, and then he allows all your cards in your resource row to be to have smuggle for 2 resources more than their cost. So it gives Greedo basically smuggle 3. So Tech's one I'm gonna test next, but this is where I'm starting with Han in set 2. Next up we have Krennic ECL. Krennic ECL is a really strong deck, one of my team's favorite decks. Here I think it just gets better. So the 3 Yularen, 2 Death Trooper, 3 Power of the Dark Side. I'm running the Emperor's Royal Guard because we have some officials with the client and with Yularen and then Krennic himself. 3 SLT, 3 Star Viper. I'm dropped down to 1 resupply. I did have 3 in there in set 1. I'm dropping down to 1 because we still have the super laser tech and we don't always want to ramp with this. I think 4 ramp is good enough. 3, the client. The client's pretty ridiculous. It's 2/5. Imperial official. He's shielded and he has an action. Choose a unit for this phase. He gains bounty. Heal 5 damage from the base. So the client gives you access to heals all the time, and we have lots of removal. Power of the Dark Side, Takedown, Vanquish, Overwhelming Barrage, Rivals Fall, Vader, Dooku, Maul, Snoke, Avenger. Like we're getting, like in our ECL plays, we want to ECL Hask or Steadfast most of the time. We can remove units that way. We have a lot of removal options, a lot of ways to kill units that the client is going to be healing our base up even more. Then we got the 2 Dark Phase Trooper, the Dark Troopers. Those are there as another Sentinel targets. We have 5 Sentinels in the deck. 2 Gideon Hask. He's good with the ECL Krennic play. Blow something up small. He can take out Sabine unit. And then he's given XP tokens out, so he's buffing other people. Vanquish, 3 Overwhelming Barrage. 3 Steadfast. Steadfast is probably the best ECL card in the game. 2 Rivals Fall, so we can defeat that Vader and that Palpatine when they deploy. 2 Dooku, 2 Vader, 2 First Light. First Light's one I'm testing, but I think it can be good early. It's the 4/7 for 7 with grit. In each other card, each other friendly unit gains grit, and it has smuggle. So Krennic's already buffing your damaged units at +1, and then if they all have grit, you're basically doubling up on that. So it's doubling up on the Krennic ability, which if you're playing more if you're playing in the aggro decks, you're probably playing a more mid-range strategy with this deck. It's a little flexible. I don't know that that's relevant, but if you're playing a mid-range deck, I feel like that's going to be extremely relevant. 2 Vader, 2 Maul, pretty awesome. Ambush, Overwhelm. I don't know that his on-attack ability is going to be super relevant because you don't have other Underworld cards, but just a 7/6 with Ambush and Overwhelm is what we're looking for. 3 Snoke because he makes our opponents hit like wet pool noodles, and then 2 Avengers because Avenger is Avenger. Next one for set 2 you can look at is Vigilance Grand Inquisitor. Grand Inquisitor was pretty solid all around. It gets better in set 2, so we get 3 guild targets to get some extra damage on base. 3 Force Lightning because we have lots of Force units. 3 Force Throw because we still have those same Force units. 3, I forget how to pronounce this guy. Puppy falling asleep in my arms here. Hybelon Enforcer, it's a 1/4 with grit. It has a bounty. The bounty's irrelevant. It's a 1/4 with grit, so it's a target for Grand Inquisitor. Inferno Fork, we can hit with Grand Inquisitor and lets us filter. Scalpike Pursuer. Some of these cards in set 1 I'm not going to talk about. You know what they do. Force Choke, Power of the Dark Side. So we got the whole Force event suite for villainy. 3 Power of the Dark Side. 3 Fifth Brother. 3 Lightsabers. 2 Wookiee Tree Tenders. It's a 2/4 with grit. So we can reset it, and it has grit. Punishing one to try to trigger off the guild targets, and we can reset it with Grand Inquisitor too, so that we have multiple ways to reset this. Imperial Interceptor to hit the Maywings. San, is that how it's pronounced? It's a 3/6 with grit. A 3/6 with grit that we can hit with Grand Inquisitor. Now the bounty on this one we have to be careful for because it says deal 5 damage to a base. So if she gets defeated, you're getting hit for 5. So you have to be really careful, but I think the 3/6 with grit for 4 is worth the risk, and we can reset her, shield her with Security Complex. Like we can try to protect her a little bit, but I just think the 3/6 with grit, like she's gonna hit for 5 the turn you reset her with Grand Inquisitor. So that's pretty strong. Django is a reset target, triggers off the guild target bounty. You can get Overwhelm. So really solid unit. 2/7 Sister, she is really solid. 2 Kerstanza Nanza. 3/7 can be reset with Grand Inquisitor. We got the 3 bounty, so there's potential he could come in ready, so he could get multiple swings in a turn, and his own attack ability is kind of like a Vader ability, where he's dealing damage to other units. And then closing it out with the Clan Challengers, because it's a 3/6 with Raid 2 and Overwhelm, so we can reset it. It hits for 5, and it has Overwhelm. So lots of every unit is a Grand Inquisitor target except for the Imperial Interceptor. And then we have the Force Villainy event suite for a little bit of control. So this is where I'm starting with Grand Inquisitor Vigilance in set 2. So we had the kind of mid-range control deck with Krennic. Here's our hard control deck with Vader. So not a lot of units, a lot of events. Vader is your win condition here, so we'll go through this. So 3 entrenched, 3 force choke, 3 Dr. Pershing. He's a 2-drop. So Dr. Pershing's interesting. He's an action. D1 damage to a friendly unit, draw a card. So this allows us to see more cards, to see our events, to see our removal, to see our late game bombs, to win the game. 3 power of the dark side, 2 open fire, 3 copies of the client because he allows us to heal our base. He's shielded. He's ridiculous. 3 takedown, 3 interceptors, 2 calculated lethality, a new event that allows us to defeat a non-leader unit based on their cost. So anything that costs 3 or less, we can remove. 2 Fell the Dragon, 2 Vanquish, 3 Ruthless Raider, 3 Rivals Fall, 3 Dooku's, 3 Super Laser Blast, 3 Palpatines, 3 Snokes, and 3 Avengers. So you can see we don't have a lot of units. We don't have any real ground units other than Pershing and the client until we get to Dooku. So we're just trying to control the ground arena, entrenched, force chokes, whatever we got to do, get the client out there with bounties on other units, remove those units, and then late game, we overwhelm, we super laser blast, clear the board, play Vader, and now Vader is your win condition. And then if they try to play anything else, then you got Snoke and Palpatine and the Avenger to clean up afterwards. So very oppressive potential in this deck, I think, going into set 2. So if you're looking into hard control, Vigilance Vader, this is where I'd start and work from there. And I think that was it, right? We looked at Boba Cunning, we looked at Cunning Sabine, we looked at Green Han, we looked at Krennic ECO, we looked at Grand Inquisitor, and lastly Vader. So we hit a bunch of archetypes, a bunch of different decks. So if you're looking early set 2 to win an event, maybe like a win a box a week after release or something, these are some, I think like 5 or 6 decks I would seriously take a look at and start playing with going into set 2, because everybody trying to play that new stuff, they're going to be messed up. You play new stuff that you know is good, like Blue Vader, just add the new cards to it to make it even better. Or Han, play Green Han. Get the reps on Green Han, go win with a smuggling Green Han deck, and then you'll be good. So thanks for joining us in the arenas, and that'll be it for this one, I think.